welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to look at the National 5 2024 multiple choice questions. Question 1. An experiment was carried out to investigate the rate of a reaction. In the first 5 minutes, the pressure decreased by 0.6 bar. The unit for the average rate of this reaction is what? So for average rate, you can find this at the front of your data book. Average rate is the change in quantity divided by the change in time. Here, our quantity is pressure, measured in bar, and our time is minutes. So for our units, we're going to have bar per minute. Now remember, this can be written as two different ways. You can have bar minute to the -1 or bar over minute, but you can't combine the two. So for this question, the answer is B. Question 2. Which two lines in the table show particles that are isotopes of the same element? Isotope means that it has the same atomic number, which in practice means the same number of protons, but different mass numbers, which means that it'll have different numbers of neutrons. So we need to have a look at the table and see which ones of these match. So here, W and X have the same number of protons, but they also have the same number of neutrons, so are not isotopes. Y and Z have the same number of protons, but different numbers of neutrons, and therefore would be isotopes. This gives us an answer of D. Question 3. An atom of tin has 74 neutrons. Which of the following is the mass number of this atom? So the mass number is the number of protons plus neutrons. You've been given the number of neutrons as 74. To find the number of protons, you need to look up the atomic number in the data book. If you look this up on the periodic table in your data book, you will find that it's 50. If we add these together, we'll get a mass number of 124, D. Question 4. Lead forms many compounds with non-metals. At room temperature, tetraethylplumane, PbC2H5,4, is a liquid that does not conduct electricity and is insoluble in water. The structure and bonding in tetraethylplumane is what? Initially, you would be tempted to go for ionic lattice because you have a metal and a non-metal. However, in this case, if we have a look at the properties that were shown, at room temperature it's a liquid, so this means it has a low melting point. It does not conduct electricity, which an ionic substance would if it was a liquid, and it's insoluble in water. Ionic substances tend to be soluble in water. This would indicate that we have a covalent substance. Because we have a low melting point, then that would show us that we have a covalent molecular substance, A. Question 5. Hydrogen bonds are a type of intermolecular force that exists between some molecules. Hydrogen bonds will exist between molecules that contain a hydrogen atom directly bonded to an atom of either nitrogen, oxygen, or fluorine. Which of the following substances will have hydrogen bonds between its molecules? We're looking out for a molecule which has either a bond that looks like this, or like this. If we look at A, we have a CO bond. We don't have any OH bonds. If we look at B, we have an NC bond, but no NH bonds. In C, we have an OH bond, and in D, we have NF bonds. This means C has hydrogen bonds. Question 6. Which of the following compounds, when added to water, will change its pH? You may wish to use the data book to help you. For something to change the pH, it needs to be soluble. This means that in the data book, you need to look at the solubility table on page 8. If you have a look at the solubility table, you will find that aluminium oxide is insoluble, calcium oxide is soluble, copper 2 oxide is insoluble, and zinc 2 oxide is insoluble. Calcium oxide will therefore change the pH. Question 7. How many moles of oxygen would be needed to react completely with 4 moles of magnesium? This question is looking at your knowledge of mole ratio. So here, from the equation, if we have 2 moles of magnesium, we would require 1 mole of oxygen. To go from this side to this side, we need to divide by 2. If we actually had 4 moles of magnesium, we would need to divide this by 2 and we would require 2 moles of oxygen, B. Question 8. Which of the following elements has the lowest gram formula mass? This question is really testing your knowledge of formula and which elements are diatomic. So for nitrogen, nitrogen is a diatomic molecule with the formula N2. It therefore has a gram formula mass of 14 times 2, 28. Oxygen is also diatomic, so has a gram formula mass of 16 times 2, 32. Fluorine, another diatomic, has a gram formula mass of 19 times 2, 38. And neon is monatomic, it's a noble gas, so its gram formula mass is 20. This means that neon has the lowest gram formula mass of these 4. Question 9. 25 centimetres cubed of water was added to an aqueous solution of sodium hydroxide. Compared to the initial sodium hydroxide solution, the final sodium hydroxide solution has what? So the first half of the answers is all about the number of moles. You haven't actually changed how many moles are in the solution, so we can eliminate A and D. We have the same number of moles of sodium hydroxide present. However, what we have done is reduce the concentration. So we now have a lower concentration of hydroxide ions. Because of that, we will now have lowered the pH closer to 7. So C will be our answer. Question 10. Which of the following is most likely to be a use for the alkanes? This is purely testing your knowledge of the uses of the different homologous series that you're learning about. The answer to this is A, fuels. Question 11. The table shows 3 members of the cycloalkane family. So we have cyclooctane, which is C8H12, cyclononine, C9H14, and cyclodecane, C10H16. Which of the following is the general formula for the cycloalkyne family? The best way to tackle this is to start with the CnH2n and work from there. So where we have 8 times 2 would be 16. We then need to compare to what the actual number is. So we actually had 12. So to get from 16 to 12, we needed to minus 4. You can then check your answer with the others. So if we have 9 times 2, we have 18, but in the table it's actually 14. To get from 18 to 14, we're going to minus 4. And then a final check with the last one, 10 times 2 is 20. In the table it's 16. So to get to 16, we have to minus 4. So overall, our general formula is going to be CnH2n minus 4, which is C. Question 12. Which of the following compounds is an isomer of pentooine? So first of all, an isomer has the same molecular formula, but a different structural formula. So for pentooine, we have a molecular formula of C5H10. This means that we can eliminate 2 answers straight away. A and D both have the molecular formula of C5H12. Therefore, they cannot be isomers of pentooine. If an isomer has a different structural formula, it also needs to have a different name. If we have a look at B, and we count from the right-hand side, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5 carbons with a double bond on number 1. This makes this pent-1ene. If we look at C, and we count from the left-hand side, the end closest to the double bond, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is pentooine, so that can't be an isomer. Therefore, B is our isomer. Question 13. The shortened structural formula for this compound is what? The best way to tackle this is just to draw out the shortened structural formula. So if we just take each section in turn, and you're just taking out the bonds. Okay, so we have CH3, CH2. The next one's a bit more tricky. So you've got the C, and then it has CH3s. It's got two of them attached. So that goes in brackets with a 2 on the outside. CH2, COOH. You then just need to compare what you have written to what we have in the options. And we can see that the option that is correct is B. Which bond do ethane, ethene, ethanol, and ethanoic acid all have in common? So here we're just going to draw out the molecules and see which ones they have in common. So for ethane, we've got C2H6 with a single carbon-to-carbon bond. In ethene, we have C2H4 with a carbon-to-carbon double bond. So we can see straight away that these two do not have the same bond between their carbons, so we can eliminate A, the C to C single bond. Neither of them also have a CO or an OH bond, which would imply that the answer is going to be CH. If we draw out ethanol, we can just confirm that each of these molecules shares the CH bond. And finally, ethanoic acid also shares the CH bond. Question 15. The table shows how the number of carbon atoms bonded to the nitrogen atom determines the classification of an amine. So here we can see that if the number of carbon atoms bonded to the nitrogen atom is 1, we call this primary. If it is 2, we call it secondary, and if it is 3, we call it tertiary. Which of the following is a secondary amine? So here in A, we have 1 carbon atom bonded, which would make this primary. In B, we have 2, 1 on either side, so that would make this one secondary. In C, we have 3 attached, that would make this tertiary. And in D, we have 1 attached, that would make this one primary. Therefore, B is our secondary amine. Question 16. In which experiment was the most energy released? So for this, we're looking at the E equals Cm delta T equation, which you have at the front of your data book. C is a constant, so I'm going to ignore that when we look at this, because we've been given the mass of water and the temperature rise, and we can just work with that. So in the first one, we have 0.05 times 10, so we're going to have 0.5. In the second one, we have 0.05 times 20, so we're going to have 1. In the third one, we have 0.25 times 8, which is 2, and then 0.25 times 18, which is 4.5. So our most energy released is going to be in D. Question 17. Which of the following changes would not improve the experimental results? So we've got 4 different things we could change here, and one of them is not going to improve the experimental results. If we increase the distance between the burner and the beaker, all we're really going to do there is increase the heat that's going to be lost to the surroundings if we keep this set up. If we put a lid on the beaker, then we can help some of the heat loss. If we replace the glass beaker for a copper beaker, we're going to have better heat transfer. And if we put a heat shield around this, then we're also going to reduce the heat loss. Therefore, A is the only one which would not improve the experimental results. Question 18. Which of the following substances in the table below would have the following structure? So this structure here is showing you some positive ions surrounded by delocalized electrons. This means that this structure is metallic. Metals will always conduct electricity, so we're going to have a look at this column here, and we're looking for one which conducts electricity as both a solid and a liquid, which is A. Question 19. When magnesium reacts with dilute hydrochloric acid, magnesium chloride is formed. Name the other substance formed. So here we're going to have magnesium plus HCl. I'm not going to write this as a balanced equation. We're getting magnesium chloride, so the only other thing missing here is hydrogen. So we would also give off hydrogen gas, B. Question 20. The ion-electron equations for the reactions taking place during the electrolysis of aluminium oxide are given below. So we have Al3 plus 3 electrons to give aluminium as our reduction equation, and then 2 O2 minus, becoming oxygen plus 4 electrons as our oxidation equation. So we need to combine these to give our redox equation. To do this, we need the electrons to cancel. So we're going to cross multiply. So for the first equation, we're going to multiply that by 4. And for the second equation, we're going to multiply it by 3. When we do this, we will have 4Al3 plus. We'll have 12 electrons and 4Al. We'll then have 6 O2 minus, 3 O2, and 12 electrons, which will cancel. If we then join these two equations together so that everything that's on the reactants comes together and everything that's on the products comes together, we'll end up with A as our answer. Question 21. Which of the following statements is true for ammonia? So ammonia is NH3. Ammonia is a weak base and will react with acids. So it does not have the formula NH4+, that is ammonium. It will react with acids. It'll turn damp pH paper blue because it's a base. And it's a gas at room temperature. Question 22. Which of the following compounds can be used to provide 2 of the essential elements required for healthy plant growth? So there are 3 essential elements required for healthy plant growth. So the first is potassium, K. The next is nitrogen, N, and the last is phosphorus, P. So we have to have a look at the formulas and see which ones will provide 2 of these. So the first one just has K, the second one also just has K, the third one only has N, but D has N and P, so would be suitable. Question 23. Which metal is used as the catalyst in the industrial manufacture of ammonia? So to make ammonia, we use the Haber process, and in the Haber process, we use iron as the catalyst. C. Question 24. Identify the radioisotope S that is formed when radium-228 decays by emission of 2 beta particles and an alpha particle. So a beta particle has the formula 0, -1 and is an electron, and an alpha particle is 4, 2 and is a helium nucleus. So if we start with the 228, 88 radium and we lose a beta particle, our mass is still going to be 228, but we're going to move up 1 now to 89. When we do that, we're going to move to actinium. We're then going to lose another beta particle. The mass will still stay as 228, but your atomic number will move to 90, and we'll now have thorium. We're now going to lose an alpha particle, so the mass is going to drop by 4 down to 224, and the atomic number is going to go back to 88, which is radium, D. Question 25. The table shows the colours of ions in solution. Which line in the table is correct for the colour in solution and the flame colour when copper 2 chloride is burned? You may wish to use the databook to help you. You'll find flame colours on page 6 of your databook. So here we're using copper 2. So in solution it's going to be blue. And if you look at the databook, you'll see that it has a blue-green flame. That means that D will be our answer. Thank you for watching my video. I hope that you found it helpful. Please remember to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of new videos. You can also follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Miss Adams Chem. Bye for now.